But right now, let's get into some Canadian history, bruh. Oh my goodness. I feel like we need to do this so I can show everyone out there that Canada is not just Drake. Canada is not just OVO. So I made sure I found this video. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to sit back. We're going to listen. We're going to learn. We're going to catch a vibe. And we're going to enjoy this. Before we do, you know what we got to do, bro. It's intro time, Slow. Let's get it started. Let's go. Yo, right here. Right here in the small box. Right here in the small box. Welcome back to Single Seater Reactions, only on the Flex Mind Network. I'm Flex. Welcome back to the channel. Yo, we're going to have to do this one for Canada right here. This reaction is strictly for Canada, and we're going to have to do it. This video is titled The History of Canadian Rap Pre-Drake by Sound and Vision. We got to do this one right here. We got to make sure we let people know about the hip-hop history in Canada, the hip-hop greats that were before Drake, as well as the influence that came from the Caribbean, mind you, okay? One thing about hip-hop, the Caribbean, whether it's Jamaica, Trinidad, wherever, there is such a strong influence from the Caribbean to kind of help the foundation towards hip-hop in New York, as well as in Canada. A lot of people don't know that, and I hope this video kind of touches on that. So let's not waste no more time. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the video. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the reaction. Hit that notification bell so you get notified when I go live, as well as when I drop my videos. Shout out to the live chat above me. I appreciate every single person in this chat with me today. I always love a good conversation. I always love sitting back, just talking. You know, a little banter here and there. I don't mind. I like it all. The engagement is what I care about. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and dive into the video. Let's go. Let's go. We got to do this one for the culture.
Being at City Hall now, rap is a kind of music that combines the power of poetry with a very distinctive beat. And in Canadian cities, teenagers are using that power to put across their messages.
That CBC News clip I just played for you is from all the way back in 1990. Although hip-hop was already a fast-growing cultural force in the US as the 80s wore on, it took a while for Canada to embrace rap music, to put it lightly. Where rap was beginning to thrive south of the border, the idea of a Canadian rapper in that space probably seemed completely far-fetched to most American rap fans during those earlier years. Even now, many people tend to think of one man when they think of Canadian hip-hop: Drake. And for good reason. The artist-born Aubrey Drake Graham has ruled pop, rap, and R&B music with an iron fist.
He has not ruled R&B music, but I still fuck with the video.
For nearly a decade and a half now. But the history of Canadian rap music doesn't start and end with Wheelchair Jimmy. Not even close. Hip-hop in Canada has had quite the slow-burning journey to get to where it is now, and as the world has spent 2020...
I'm glad you showed that face first. Michi Me, and I've talked about her before. She was one of the first, if not the first, to really bring that rap into Canada, no doubt. I'm glad you showed her face.
Celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, it's worth taking this opportunity to deep dive on a musical movement that has seen more bumps on the road toward Canadian commercial prominence.
Cardinal Official, man. Cardinal Official. Definitely he should be the face of Canadian rap. But Drake got it, so.
Then you'll find on the Trans-Canada Highway. So with that, here's a history lesson on how rap...
Chaos is another one. Chaos is another one. Man I Used to Be. Crab in the Bucket. What else? Superstar. Chaos is definitely another one.
Rap music evolved in Canada.
I believe I got a subscription. Shout out to
This is a throwdown, a showdown. Hell no, I can't slow down. It's gonna go.
Canada's rap music legacy began in earnest during the 1980s, but the first Canadian rap song came out right beforehand in 1979, the same year the Sugar Hill Gang dropped Rapper's Delight. That first north of the border hip-hop track was released right after Rapper's Delight and was basically an answer song to that track, Ladies Delight by Mr. Q, recorded in a basement studio below a cosmetics store in Toronto's Eglinton West neighborhood. aka Little Jamaica.
Man, y'all finna know for real. I love how the chat seems like a bunch of siblings poking at each other until some stranger shows up thinking they can some stranger comes around thinking they can order flex around. Don't kill me. That's why I love y'all, no doubt, man. Appreciate y'all.
This distinction has, however, been mistakenly attributed to the bum rap by Ottawa's Singing Fools. Released 3 years after Ladies Delight, the bum rap was essentially a protest song against the Canadian government's handling of wage control at the time, complete with a famous sample of then Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
At any cost? How far would you go with that? How far would you extend that? Oh, just watch me. How far would you extend that? Oh, just watch me.
Ladies Delight, meanwhile, wouldn't be recognized as the first Canadian rap track until 2021. Says Canadian industry mogul Dave Click Cox, quote, "The reason it never really came to be known as a Canadian record is because they just took the records and drove to Buffalo and sold them into the American market." Canada's first ever rap album is credited to Rap the Night Away by Bobby Boye and Demo Cates, aka Bobby Demo or the Bobby Demo Band, released in 1981 with features from Mr. Q.
Please, wear clothes suitable for grieving.
The funny thing is, Mr. Q, who died from COVID age 70 in 2021, wasn't originally Canadian, and neither were Boye or Cates.
Yo, Tiff, nah, you're good, don't worry. Girl, you good, don't worry, ain't nobody come around here. I love how she sound. I love how Tiff is on standby, bro. Lord have mercy, I love it so much.
Born J.W. McGee, Mr. Q grew up in North Carolina and Michigan before moving to Toronto in the mid-70s, while Cates and Boye both moved there from Detroit. A pivotal venue for the development of Canadian rap music was the Concert Hall in Toronto, where local MCs would battle rap against American ones. An event held by local DJ and influential promoter Ron Nelson, who helped book shows in Canada for acts like Run DMC and Public Enemy. Thanks to Nelson, those two acts performed at Canada's first big rap concert in 1987 at Toronto's Varsity Stadium. Nelson also helped give Canadian rap artists a new avenue for exposure.
Hey, TW, as you should, brother. Trust me, this is the one.
By hosting the country's first ever hip-hop radio show, The Fantastic Voyage, on Toronto's now defunct CKLN-FM, aired on Saturday afternoons from 1983 to 1991. Another factor in helping sow the seeds of rap music in Canada was the uptick in Caribbean immigration during the 60s.
What'd I say? Run that back.
In helping sow the seeds of rap music in Canada was the uptick in Caribbean immigration during the 60s and 70s, thanks in no small part to changes made to the Canadian Immigration Act in 1962, where racial discrimination was no longer grounds for not accepting new immigrants into Canada. Many of Canada's biggest rap talents would come from West Indian communities, both in the earlier days and in the years to come. Crucially, Much Music would launch its own hip-hop dedicated TV show, Rap City.
Wasn't a lot of our hip-hop East Indian at one point too? I remember hearing that somewhere. I think that's... I agree with you, but that had its own era, but it was later on... Oh, excuse me. It was kind of later on in a sense, you know? West Indian. Now you good. Now you good. But same thing. Later on. There was a moment when we had that. You know? But that's the West Indian portion to the rap was after the foundation that was built here from the past. So he's speaking to the past first, and then as he moves up, you're going to hear some of the West Indian influence in the rap here in Canada. But I agree with you right there.
In 1988. This became an important resource for Canuck rap talent, giving artists a chance to be heard by hip-hop fans from coast to coast when mainstream radio wouldn't bite. Despite all of this, major Canadian labels didn't have much faith or interest in genres like hip-hop on a commercial level, so rap artists in Canada had to be developed independently. Hip-hop during this time could often feel like an inherently...
That's Canada's first mistake. Run that back again so y'all can hear it.
...stream radio wouldn't bite. Despite all of this, major Canadian labels didn't have much faith or interest in genres like hip-hop on a commercial level.
That's their first mistake. Because because of that decision is the reason why rap doesn't do too well here. Unless you go to America. That one decision that they made so long ago because they simply just did not understand what rap was is the reason why our rap today is the way it is. Imagine if they did believe in it. Imagine if they did trust it. Rap here in Canada would be completely different. It would be completely different. But because of that one decision they made, we are forever crippled. No matter how hard we try. Like a flock of wild siblings, don't kill me.
So rap artists in Canada had to be developed independently. Hip-hop during this time could often feel like an inherently underground labor of love, standing in stark contrast to Canadian pop music trends of that era. Meanwhile, south of the border, the genre spent the 80s and early 90s firmly establishing itself as an undeniable pop culture movement. As far as commercial success...
See, that's why America did so well. That's why rap did so well in America. Because there was more rap artists to choose from. While you're here in Canada, you can't really trust it because there's such a small amount. Which is why Canada will never be on America's level when it comes to artistry. Because their artistry has been embraced from such a long time ago. Meanwhile here, it's almost like the artistry was recently people recently believed in it. You know? But it's gotten too far where we try to champion it like it's the best thing in the world when in reality we're probably one of the lower ones on the tier list. The UK does way better than us. Look at Japan. Look at China. Their artists do better than Canadian artists. You know what I'm saying? All the major areas for music, Canada's not doing well at all. It's not doing well at all, and someone's going to have to say it. Don't even get me started on Africa.
As for Canadian rappers goes, Maestro Fresh Wes, born Wesley Williams and known as the godfather of Canadian hip-hop, and the Dream Warriors were two of the earliest success.
I don't think it was... I remember I heard that a while ago on Hinge. But I never really looked too deep into that, to be honest, because I never cared for Trudeau or his son.
Best stories. Maestro's boisterous, sample-heavy 1989 track, Let Your Backbone Slide, remains one of Canada's seminal rap singles, becoming a top 10 song at home and also charting at number 14 on the US Billboard Hot Rap Singles chart. Let Your Backbone Slide would become Canada's biggest pre-Drake rap single until Cardinal Offishal's Dangerous eclipsed it in 2008. Maestro would
notice you, noticing me. From across the room, I can see it and can't stop myself from looking. I noticing you, noticing me. Come on, bruh. That girl is so dangerous. That girl is so dangerous. That girl is a bad girl. Come on, bruh. That song was so pivotal. Oh my God, that song was so pivotal, bro. Cardinal Official and Akon, that was a major song here in Canada, bro. That was so major. That guy irks my soul.
Until Cardinal Offishal's Dangerous eclipsed it in 2008. Maestro would also take home the first ever Juno Award, Canada's Grammy equivalent, for Best Rap Recording. More on that award's history later. His debut album, Symphony in Effect, would also go platinum in Canada, and Let Your Backbone Slide is the first rap song to be inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. Says his sister and veteran Canadian radio personality DJ Mel Boogie, quote, Wes is my older brother, so I had a front seat to the whole making of what he did. My kids don't believe it, but there was a time when Maestro went to sign autographs at HMV and they had to shut down the mall because there were that many people there. This was the first rap song many people heard on mainstream Canadian radio. For West to have the success he did at that time astounds me because he had nothing. College radio was the only support. He actually had to go to clubs and physically give out a record to the DJ to play. Stuff that we kind of take for granted nowadays.
Don't kill me, Tiny.
Dream Warriors, meanwhile, gave the world their definition of a boombastic jazz style in 1990 with My Definition of a Boombastic Jazz Style. The song samples the famous Quincy Jones tune Soul Bossa Nova that most people recognize nowadays from Austin Powers, but was known in Canada at the time as the theme song to a Canadian game show, Definition. Though it failed to crack the US pop charts, My Definition of a Boombastic Jazz Style hit the top 20 in the UK, Sweden, and Switzerland, while also...
Hell no, TW. Drake don't know his hip-hop history, bro. Drake don't... And that's an easy way. Just working with Cardinal Official, anybody from Canada's past, is such an easy way to get people back on your side. It's so easy to get people back on your side when you do things like that. It's so easy. Not saying that he's with us. He's still taking from Canada's old culture. But at least the attempt to work with these individuals is such an easy way to have more Canadians on your side, bro. Ugh. I like that Friday eventually is able to come around, but it's a bit too late to have him as a voice for us. And you know what's sad about Friday? You know what's really sad about Friday? He literally has the power to not necessarily make a change in the rap history here, but he could be that influence for those guys out there that are rapping in Canada. He can be that influence to give them direction, give them ideas, give them strategies. He's built himself up to that point. You know what I'm saying? But now I look at it and I'm just like, bro, you just following these dudes, bro. Not necessarily you following them for clout, but you're following them when you should be leading them. Your voice matters in the city. And the way that you squander your blessings is the same thing I was talking about with how the Canadian rap talent be fumbling the bag. He's doing the same as well. He's doing the exact same, bro. And he don't even realize it. Bro, as much as I want to be in his position, it's going to be a long time before I even make it up there. He's there right now. He can make the change, but he's not doing nothing, bro. He's not doing nothing. He should be putting in work to really help and give these dudes ideas and game how to strategize and really pick up themselves from the spot they put them in. He has the power to do it and he ain't doing nothing, bro. Ain't nobody gonna... The reality is here in Canada, ain't nobody really gonna listen to me in Canada unless you just happen to just fall onto this channel just like some of the individuals in the chat here today. Ain't nobody in Canada going out there looking out for people like that. In Canada, it's not... In Canada, this is how it works. When you build yourself up, ain't nobody gonna be around you. But when you put yourself in a position, or when you build yourself up with the foundation that you've laid out, and then someone just so happens to see your channel, then they're gonna come in droves. People in Canada, they're gonna come in droves. But they're never going to be there at the beginning. I'm thankful. I'm so glad for the individuals in the chat that are from Canada pulling up here and listening and then catching a vibe with us. I'm so glad. But when I tell you it's going to take such a long time for Canadians to really pull up here in groups, bro, I'm not even doing this for them no more. If they happen to listen, that's cool. But I'm doing this for the rest of the world to hear. You know? Bro, it's evil out here, bro. It's... Sharon, that's what I'm talking about, bro. The amount of bridges this man had and the amount of bridges he lost. I wouldn't be surprised. If I had Happy Dad come to my door, and you know what's funny? I applied for Happy Dad for the marketing position because they were trying to start an office here in Canada. If Happy Dad was to come to me now, I'm gonna have to decline that shit. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. If Happy Dad was to come to me right now, I'm gonna have to decline that because knowing what's going on with OVO, knowing what's going on with Drake, knowing that they're not really putting in the time and effort into finding the right people to endorse, bro, it's not. There's no point, man. It's not a good look to have Happy Dad with me. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's not a good look. The funny thing is, I had dreams of starting my own alcohol brand, starting my own rum, my own tequila, my own red wine. You know, I had dreams of doing that. You know, later on, of course, but you know, maybe one day. You know what I'm saying? I have my little bottle. Oh, what's this? Oh no, this is my little. You know, this is my little pick me up drink. You know what I'm saying? Let me stop. Let's keep going.
Also charting in Australia, Germany, and the Netherlands. Despite their success overseas, getting airplay and recognition in their homeland still proved to be a challenge for the Warriors. Canadian rap artists finding success proved to be elusive in general, and more challenges and obstacles were still to come. Take this quote from longtime promoter, producer, and manager, Soul Guy. Quote, "After my definition, nothing happened for 2 years. No labels were signing or trying to sign anything. Nobody was getting a shot. Radio disappeared with Wes and the Dream Warriors, and it still hasn't come back." From a purely commercial standpoint, hip-hop in the 90s completely and utterly belonged to the United States. Virtually every major rap artist we think of from that decade is American, whether from the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, or the South. A relative lack of resources and vessels for promotion, not to mention a healthy dose of systemic racism, were arguably big reasons why Canadian rap music couldn't reach its full potential domestically. Even some Canadian MCs, like Maestro Fresh West, had moved stateside, with Maestro even releasing an album titled Nah, This Kid Can't Be From Canada in 1994, after moving to New York. Despite that hilariously self-aware title, he'd never ultimately break through south of the border. There's also Devin, an English-born Toronto...
He should have stayed here to build a foundation, but this right here,
or ultimately break through south of the border.
That right there, this individual right here is just another example of how if you're going to compete with individuals in that genre, you're competing with people that are at an elite level. If you're not at an elite level in terms of rapping, you better be careful and mindful about how you conduct yourself and how much you put yourself out there when you are in those battlegrounds. Because I promise you, they will burn you alive. They will burn you alive. If you're going to be in this genre, Canadians need to understand, if you're going to be in this genre, you got to be in this genre to dominate. You got to be in this genre to take over. Don't just be in this genre to have fun. It's not going to work for you. You want people to know who you are, you got to out-rap the same individuals that are in that genre. That's what happens when you don't have a culture. Oh my God. Let's keep going.
There's also Devin, an English-born Toronto-based rapper whose 1990 single Mr. Metro caused a stir since the title references Toronto police officers, even though he claims the song was about racial biases from law enforcement across North America. The song's video even had to blur out explicit references to Toronto cops, as he'd received threats from the Toronto Police Service to arrest him over the song, citing defamation. 1990 was also the year where an all-star team of Canadian rap artists banded together as the supergroup Dance Appeal on the track Can't Repress the Cause, which advocated for greater exposure and inclusion for the genre within Canada. Still, rap's presence in the country was becoming steadily harder to ignore. Even Celine Dion included a rap break in her song Unison. Russian their song Roll the Bones.
Relax, get busy with the facts.
And years later, we'd see the Bare Naked Ladies goofily interpolate Busta Rhymes' verse in a Tribe Called Quest scenario on their hit song, 1 Week.
Chuckity Choco, the chocolate chicken, the rear cock diesel, the chicks they were kicking. Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken, you have a drumstick and your brain stops sticking.
Another key figure in early Canadian hip-hop was Michie Mee. Not only was she Canada's first prominent female rapper, she'd also be the first Canadian rapper full stop to be signed by an American label, inking a deal with First Priority and Atlantic Records. That said, label heads and radio stations reportedly didn't love the more reggae-heavy part of her sound. Guys, her album is literally called Jamaican Funk Canadian Style. You knew what you were getting yourselves into. Though Michie Mee managed to become the only homegrown rapper to make the pop charts in Canada between 1992 and 1998, she did so by featuring on a reggae/rap metal band song. Canada's contributions to American hip-hop during the 90s weren't negligible, though. In 1992, Main Source, comprised of two Toronto DJs, Sir Scratch and K-Cut, released Live at the Barbecue, which opens with a verse from a young and not yet famous Nas, who hits listeners with one particularly jaw-dropping line.
Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus.
That same year, the closest thing Canada had to an international rap hit, the dancehall-adjacent Informer by Snow, topped the Billboard Hot 100 and in many other countries around the world.
Of course it did.
It doesn't really count, but take victories wherever you can, I guess. And hey, we got a hilarious parody of it from fellow Canadian Jim Carrey on In Living Color.
Imposter, I'm just a middle-class worker from Toronto. In spite of how I sound, single one platinum bigger than Marley and Jimmy and Yellowman, but I'm not even mulatto.
Of course it worked. Look at the caricature. Look at the character and look at the caricature that they put together, bro. Look at it. Of course it's gonna work. It makes sense. Canada wasn't comfortable with how rap looked. Canada was not comfortable because you got to remember, Canada, they got deep ties with the Queen. You know what I'm saying? So you have the Queen have her eyes on Canada. Canada don't want to put rap in a spotlight like that. It wouldn't look good. It might turn the Queen's head away from Canada. So Canada said, we're going to make sure we keep this under wraps. Unhinged, that is facts, my boy. That is facts. In Canada, we learn about culture from TV. Anyone saying they get it is lying. Wait, what? Anyone saying they get it is lying. Bro, I literally said that about how I kind of like built and found a foundation for my love for American culture was through TV. I explained that in one of my videos a while back. Like, the reason why I love American culture, the reason why I love the different accents, the reason why I love the people, their culture, the environment, everything is through TV. It's literally through TV. Wow, words are hard. Through TV. Jesus. He decided that Not Like Us was dividing, and when being told why it is not, as explained by people who come from the very same culture as Kendrick, and Friday still judged it for personal view, is not okay. But, you know, how do I explain that without hating too much? How do I explain that without hating too much? Tiny, that's how people are here in Canada. The people that have a voice, the people that have a following, the people that have a spotlight on them, that's how they think. They always lead with I feel. But they never lead with, you know what? I get it. They never lead with admitting something. They lead with, I feel like for me personally, it didn't really go that way for me. You're going to hear that a lot throughout social media around here. Whether if it's like on a podcast, on a news station, you're always going to hear someone say, I feel like that's not how it's supposed to be. I feel like it's going a different direction. You're going to get that a lot here, no doubt. Let's keep going, though.
My reggae's watered down.
The development of homegrown rap talent in Canada during the 90s
crazy.
could feel like getting over the commercial hump was so close, yet so far. In Toronto, there were attempts as early as 1990 to get a hip-hop radio station on the airwaves. But instead of making national music history and catering to a whole new niche of listeners across Canada's largest and most diverse city, the CRTC chose another country radio station despite one already existing in Toronto.
Yep.
7 years later, another application was snubbed in favor of moving CBC Radio 1 from AM to FM radio. This made genres like hip-hop and R&B difficult for Canadian listeners to discover, especially if they lived outside Southern Ontario, where fans at least had the luxury of tuning into stations in neighboring Buffalo or Detroit. Despite some Toronto stations starting to play more rap music, Canadian commercial radio as a whole wasn't swayed. And the best way for rappers in Canada to get noticed beyond their regional bubbles was being played on Rap City or on university radio. Toronto wasn't the only city in Ontario where hip-hop was making waves, mind you. In 1992, Ottawa's Organized Rhyme released Check the OR.
Check the OR, you like it so far. Check the OR, you like it so far.
With its second verse being from MC Bones, aka a young Tom Green. Yes,
He
that
definitely
Tom
threw it
Green.
away.
While it failed to crack the pop charts, Check the OR received extensive airplay on Much Music. During this time, you had a better chance of getting airplay on Much than you did on the radio, even with the support of a label. But by 1999, the floodgates finally opened for a rap radio station to hit the airwaves in Canada. The CBC realized they could give up 2 frequencies to be claimed by new applicants for radio stations, breeding a renewed sense of hope for a hip-hop/R&B station to be approved. The federal government also gave the CRTC an order in council to prioritize stations catering to racially diverse populations in Toronto. The following year, Milestone Radio, the group lobbying to secure a hip-hop radio station in Canada, would finally get their license. Flow 93.5, aka CFXJ, would be launched.
What did I say? I said it twice. What did I say? I said it twice. Flow 93.5, man. That was childhood. That was childhood.
Radio, the group lobbying to secure a hip-hop radio station in Canada, would finally get their license. Flow 93.5, aka CFXJ, would be launched in Toronto in 2001, with other Canadian cities later following suit. Another turning point for Canadian hip-hop was a compilation album, Rap Essentials Volume 1, by the now defunct Beat Factory Records. Released in 1996, it helped bring exposure to artists like Cardinal Offishall, Choclair,
21 years of pure bullshit. It makes me wanna bang my heads off the walls and do some like orchestra.
and the Rascals. Each of whom appear on another song I'll soon be discussing a lot in this video. Maestro Fresh Wes, known back then as simply Maestro, also scored a hit domestically in 1998 with Stick to Your Vision, featuring a distinctly Canadian sample from the Guess Who.
These eyes cry. Seen a lot of shame in the game. Seen a lot of pain with the fame.
On that same album, Built to Last, Maestro also gave us an unmistakably Toronto-themed banger, 416905 TO Party Anthem, named after the 2 area codes of Toronto proper and the Greater Toronto Area. 5 or 6 hours down the 401 in Montreal, Quebec, a French-language rap movement also started bubbling during the 80s before really taking flight in the 90s. The first Canadian rap song in French, though not technically from the rap genre, is credited as being Le Rapabilly by Lucien Francard.
À vous l'entendre du rap à Billy.
The end of the 80s and beginning of the 90s also saw acts
Yo,
like
salute to
Boyfriend
Corey,
and
bro.
Mouvement Rap
Appreciate you for your
Francophone,
subscription.
aka MRF, emerge. While Anglophone acts like MCJ and Cool G, both of whom moved to Montreal separately from Halifax, had already made waves around 1990 with the success of tracks like So Listen, groups like Dubmatic and Musayon would significantly raise French-Canadian rap's profile during the 90s and early 2000s. While the delivery of groups like Dubmatic in particular sounded more indebted to rap from France than to the local accents and joie of everyday Quebecers, Dubmatic made Quebec rap history.
Bro, look at Canada and look at Canada today. Look at what it was, and look at it. Imagine if we still had this kind of driving force. Canada would be completely different. It would be completely different. And we would have a proper foundation towards our rap scene here. But we don't. That's how cooked we are. Look what we had and look how we threw it away.
By topping Canada's francophone pop charts, and their debut LP, La Force de Comprendre, went platinum. Musayon, meanwhile, would go on to work with Wyclef Jean and the group's brother-sister duo Stanley and Jenny Salgado, aka Aimposs and J. Kill respectively, would enjoy successful solo careers.
That's true, Rebecca,
the
you're right.
evolution of French-Canadian hip-hop would see
Absolutely
more distinctly Quebecois takes on rap music, as well as rap from other French-speaking parts of Canada, start to flourish with each passing decade. But frankly, this whole chapter of Canada's rap music history deserves a deep dive video all its own, and I'd like to do the voiceover for that one in French. A rap scene within indigenous communities also started popping off during the mid-90s and 2000s, including acts from all corners of the nation such as True Res Crew, Team Res Official, War Party, Equal, and the Scalpa Squad.
And none of them got any spotlight. The way that the indigenous, the aboriginals, had to fight for their spotlight is criminal. If you go to France, half of what you say there won't actually understand. You're absolutely right, because I don't know. It's slang. It's broken down here. It's when you go to France and you take Canadian French with you there, they're gonna think you're slow. And I don't know why it's like that. I learned that in like grade 4 French. The teacher made it clear that the French that you learn here in Canada is not the same as the French there in actual France. It makes no sense, but that's how it is. Yeah, you're right. Rebecca's right, man. Jeez. Shout out to Rebecca, bro. She be right for real.
Squad. Better yet, that scene is continuing to grow today. But I also think the history of indigenous hip-hop would merit its own video, though, and I'd want to interview people more directly in tune with that scene to give it the best possible context for viewers who want to get into it but don't know where to start. But perhaps the biggest turning point for Canadian rap's exposure across the country came courtesy of Vancouver's Rascals. First, there was Northern Touch.
We notorious, huh? Ain't nobody can bang with us. Rascals checkmate.
A Canadian posse cut for the ages, Northern Touch saw the Rascals bring along fellow Vancouverite Checkmate to join forces with Toronto's Cardinal Official, Choclair, and Thrust. Over a BT Express sample many rap heads also recognized from DMX's Get At Me Dog, released that same year, while flipping it into something uniquely and unapologetically Canadian.
Alright, Tiny, we'll be here.
Throughout, this group of Canuck MCs waste no time making it abundantly clear that Canadian rap had arrived and was here to stay. Choclair would score a hit of his own not long after Northern Touch with Let's Ride, produced by Cardinal, and which hit the top 40 of Canada's singles chart. In other words, Northern Touch was a watershed moment in Canadian rap history, and Seth Rogen wasn't really wrong when he said this to Nardwuar.
Well, there was that song, Northern Touch, which, you know, if you're a Canadian rap fan, is like the be-all. It's like, it's our stairway to heaven, basically.
Although Northern Touch...
Yo, I haven't heard Colby O'Donis in a long time, bro. I haven't heard that name in a long time. He was a good artist, bro. Yeah, he had a song with Akon too, called "What You Got." where it went like, all this talk about what you got, all this talk about what you got, girl, you know that you need to stop, something like that. But like, I remember that song too. But Kobe O'Donis, he's a really good artist. He's a really good artist, no doubt, man. It's like we had our 90s run and that's it. Factual. Yo, that's what I'm saying, bro. We actually had a foundation here. Not necessarily saying that's our culture, but we were growing something here. We were growing something. Where is it? Thought it was the weekend. That's hilarious. But yo, where is it? We grew something and it's gone.
Rap fan is like the be all. It's like it's our stairway to heaven. Basically.
The craziest thing is Cardinal Official is still rapping. He's still rapping.
Although Northern Touch didn't quite crack the Canadian top 40, its peak of number 41 on the Canadian singles chart was higher than other homegrown rap songs were able to reach domestically during that era. Its video also blew up on Much Music and stayed in heavy rotation on the channel. Even some American programmers took notice, as the video would also get airplay on BET. The Rascals were also pivotal in pushing Canadian rap forward on a systemic level. When their 1997 album Cash Crop, which Northern Touch wasn't initially on but was later added to,
don't be sorry, Rebecca.
won the
That's
1998
valid.
Juno for Best Rap Recording, the group comprised of Red One, Misfit, and DJ Chemo refused the award, all while the ceremony was held that year in their native Vancouver. The award had previously...
Cardinal Official was really putting in work, bro. He was really putting in work. Wow. Get them shock pads out and zap it a few times, girl. You're gonna need to get like you're gonna have to get like some sort of satellite and aim it and shoot some lightning at it, so you can just shock it back up to life. Like that's what you need at this point. Wow, he used to be with Sway. Wow, bro, that's so crazy, bro. Cardinal Official was really putting in work across the border. But then look what they did here. We fumbled the bag so bad here, bruh. Our failure here in Canada needs to be studied, bruh. Let's keep it a stack.
Gone to Maestro Fresh West, The Dream Warriors, Devin, TBTBT, aka Too Bad to Be True, Ghetto Concept, and Choclair. But for 8 years after being introduced, that category was not shown during the Juno's main televised ceremony, and this was no exception.
And that's the reason why the Junos is failing, because they failed to recognize rap. They recognize everything else but rap, and now look at the Junos. I'm going to tell you right now, the Juno Awards is just another Canadian award show, but I promise you, a lot of us here in Canada really don't care about the Junos. We really don't care about the Junos at all, bro. I hear the Junos coming up. I'm like, okay, cool. Next, bro. I don't tune in for no Juno Awards. For what? Hell no.
The Rascals even showed up late to the non-televised gala and only found out they won upon their arrival. The group immediately cited racism as a factor behind the category not being shown during the main ceremony, and the Best Rap Recording category would be televised the following year, won by, you guessed it, Northern Touch. At the time of their refusal, though, the Rascals' manager, Soul Guy, who I quoted earlier in this video, had this to say, quote, "In view of the lack of real inclusion of..."
Bro, when I look at Cardinal Official, I literally look at him as like, I literally see Cardinal Official as the Canadian version of Busta Rhymes. And it's like, we don't even understand that we have a generational talent in front of us and not enough people care. That is so crazy.
Black music in this ceremony, this feels like a token gesture towards honoring the real impact of urban music in Canada. Urban music, reggae, R&B, and rap, that's all black music, and it's not represented at the Junos. We decided that until it is, we were going to take...
Yo, Sharon, fun fact. So Scratch Bastard, right? This was my first time attending his barbecue here in Toronto. But Bastard had a barbecue here in Toronto. And attached to that barbecue, They had a dance competition. That was my first time attending a dance competition at that level. Because I'm not going to lie, that was an advanced level competition. And I'm not saying I'm not good. I'm just not advanced. Okay? Because it's like, the way it was set up, it was like dog eat dog almost. It's like, you have all the opportunity in the world to jump in the middle, to do what you need to do. But people will push you out the way. People be like, nah, nigga, it's my time. Bro, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Bastion was different, but I can't wait till it comes back. Because your boy is ready now. Now that I understand the concept, your boy is ready. So when that dance competition comes around, I'm there for it. Promise you. But Bastion, bro, that's a good moment right there, bro. That's a really good moment. I'm glad you said something, bro. That's a really good moment, bro. Wow, bro. That's crazy.
Take a stance.
In
many ways, this was Canada's answer to a similar protest almost a decade earlier at the 1989 Grammys, where artists like Will Smith, aka The Fresh Prince, and DJ Jazzy Jeff, as well as fellow nominees Salt and Peppa and LL Cool J, boycotted the ceremony due to the first ever Best Rap Performance Award not being televised.
That's the competition that was out there at the time. Look at the competition today. Even regardless of the talent that you see on TV, that's your competition that you have to go up against. Canada needs to understand that. Enough of this play fun nonsense. It's time to compete. We have to be competitive again. Canada has every right to be competitive. Stop following Drake because he doesn't even know the definition of being competitive, even though he studied rap battles for a living, bitch ass nigga. Like, bro, keep it a stack, bro. Canada needs to compete again so Canada can get a voice. We need to compete. And we're not even trying to.
Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince would go on to win that award for Parents Just Don't Understand, but refuse to accept it or attend the awards show. Based on this, Canada still seemed to be...
We have some rappers here in Toronto that did it independently, but like I was kind of explaining before, the independent route here is harder because of how you have to fund yourself, and knowing that the jobs aren't really hitting out here, it's really hard for independent artists to really make it out here at that level, at like a Filthy Rich, at a La Russell. You don't need to put Young Dolph in there because we don't have any artists that are on Young Dolph's level in terms of independence, or even Chance the Rapper. Ain't nobody on those levels. It's unfortunate. Drake steals. What does he really know? I have found 45 artists he's ripped off. That's no relent and no one to look up to. He needs to be taken to court for copyright infringements. I found a video where it was like 25 different moments that he stole from other rappers. If there's 45, my God. Yeah, nah. The Canadian, like I say it once, I'm gonna say it all the time. The Canadian rap scene here needs help. The Canadian rap scene here needs help. And the funny thing is, a lot of us know it needs help, but none of the artists are really making that effort to build a bridge with other countries so we can start to make that change. Talent. Gotcha. It's okay. Don't worry. I got you. But we're not building bridges. We're not really building any bridges at all. And it sucks. It's 45? My God.
Be at least 9 years behind their southern neighbors with hip-hop. Entering the 2000s, though, the genre's influence on Canadian pop culture could no longer be denied. Though Canadian rap music's growth had been staggered at best, the turn of the millennium is arguably the starting point where things truly began trending for the better. Toronto remained the biggest producer of rap talent domestically, with artists like Chaos. And K-Non in particular becoming bona fide Canadian rap success stories during this decade. Vancouver's Swollen members also became a platinum...
Chaos and K-Non were the ones, bro. They were the ones. Run that back.
Where things truly began trending for the better. Toronto remained the biggest producer of rap talent domestically, with artists like Chaos.
Man I Used to Be is hands down Chaos's best track. Hands down his best track. No doubt about it. Easily his best track. Funny enough, another Chaos track that is really popular, but it's popular within the dance scene in Toronto, is Superstar. Superstar by Chaos is undeniably one of the best songs you can ever play in any Canadian battle. Any Canadian dance battle. If you hear Superstar, the whole crowd is going to respond in kind. Chaos is fire.
And Kanon in particular becoming bona fide Canadian rap success stories during this decade. Vancouver's Swollen members also became a platinum-selling group in Canada thanks to hits like Lady Venom, Bring It Home, and Fuel Injected, with MCs Prevail and Madchild occasionally being perfectly complemented by singer-slash-rapper Mocha Only. Prior to Drake, Swollen members were the Juno's most decorated rap act, taking home a total of 6 awards. Talented artists from smaller Canadian cities would also come along in the 2000s, like Halifax's Buck 65 and Classified, London, Ontario's Shad, and Edmonton's Cadence Weapon, who eventually served as his hometown's poet laureate from 2009 to 2011. Classified, who first stepped onto the scene in 1995, eventually became one of Canada's more famous rappers domestically, even making a song based around a sample of the national anthem, right as the country was months away from hosting the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver. Cardinal Official would become one of Canada's first...
That song right there, Bacardi Slang. That is literally... It's well, okay, not literally, but it's supposed to be Canada's anthem. In terms of anthem tracks, Bacardi Slang is supposed to be our anthem. But because people don't know about Cardinal Official or about that song, they're not going to know about this song and how important it was to hear it. The same, if y'all remember what Central C did in his freestyle, I think it was LA Leakers, if I'm correct. He broke down his own UK slang in a freestyle rap. Cardinal Official did it first.
2010 Olympics in Vancouver. Cardinal Official would become one of Canada's first true rap stars during the aughts too. His 2000 single, Bacardi Slang, introduced many listeners not only to him, if they didn't know him through Northern Touch, but also to the lingo frequently used by West Indian communities in Toronto. That same year, Cardi was also featured on Baby Blue's Soundcrew's single, Money Jane, teaming up not only with Canadian R&B star Julie Black, some may remember her from her awesome lyric change while singing O Canada at the 2023 NBA All-Star Game, but also with soon-to-be Jamaican dancehall sensation, Sean Paul. Although Cardinal was already an established Canadian rap heavyweight by the time he released his 2001 sophomore album Quest for Fire, Firestarter Volume 1, it would take him 7 years after that to break through internationally, which he pulled off with his Akon-assisted 2008 hit, Dangerous.
Songs like Dangerous are that's the kind of level Canadians are supposed to be performing at. Our Canadian rappers are supposed to be performing at least at a dangerous level. No pun intended. But that's where we're supposed to be. That song alone is supposed to be our minimum. But it's like we forgot the formula. We forgot the formula, bro. It's crazy. Song is so good.
Firestarter Volume 1, it would take him 7 years after that to break through internationally, which he pulled off with his Akon-assisted 2008 hit, Dangerous. Despite all these steps forward, Canadian rap still didn't necessarily have all the best tools for artists to succeed. CBC Radio 3 and
Crab It Up is another good song.
both key vessels for Top 40 radio was the best way for rap to be heard in Canada at that time. And even then, you needed some degree of crossover appeal. Even Cardi's Dangerous likely wouldn't have reached its commercial heights without its hook coming from Akon, a global star at the time. Between this and a litany of other examples, true American success continued to elude our biggest rap stars.
On the 25 artist list that I posted on the community YouTube chat, we have so many songs, so much potential in every single one of those songs. Imagine if we had a feature that could fit or kind of just benefit each song from somebody else, maybe across the border. The reality with Canada is that we need crutches. Canada needs crutches to walk, meaning that we're going to need an assistance from artists around the globe. Imagine if one of the female artists here had the perfect song for Lisa to be on. And now you have a Lisa feature. And all of a sudden, everyone's finding out about K-pop in Canada, just as an example. Same thing when it comes down to dancehall, when it comes to soca. Imagine if you had a feature from Vibes Cartel, a feature from Popcorn, a feature from Elephant Man, a feature from Beanie Man. All of a sudden, people know about the Caribbean culture in Toronto. That's what we gotta do now. This shit was everywhere. Facts. The young ones don't even know. They don't even know we have a formula. Facts. Lisa, don't kill me. Some of the new guys weren't even facts. That's true. But that goes to show you how much history they need to learn. That just shows you how much they need to learn to really understand what position they're in. I don't give us no credit. Drake is trash. Such trash. Don't kill me. We need some good features and some cosigns. Absolutely. We do have a Caribbean community here in Canada, but they're not doing much. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is that we're so spread out and we're so divided. The Caribbean community here is so spread out and so divided. The only thing they're gonna come together for is Caravana, and that's it. And they only come together to party. They don't come together to do work. That's the crazy thing, Rebecca. Let's keep going though.
And then, this guy.
I'm from the city where people be getting threatened for showing they facing precincts. Ladies leasing, arranging, and renting basements in regions. Some people making that change and spent in places that's decent. It costs from summers before they replace them with something recent.
Any discussion about Canadian hip-hop arguably has to be split between two eras, pre-Drake and post-Drake.
Yeah.
If people want a full post-Drake era video, I'd be happy to make that one too, but for the purpose of this video, I'll just start with this. Aubrey Drake Graham redefined what it meant to be successful as a Canadian rapper, and after dropping his first mixtape in 2006, that started in earnest 3 years later when he signed to Young Money after Lil Wayne took notice of him and flew him out to Houston to meet him. Drake would then release his debut EP, So Far Gone, on the label. Its lead single, Best I Ever Had, soared all the way to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, unprecedented in Canadian hip-hop history at that time, and kicked off his still monstrously successful solo career. That song signified the beginning of a Toronto kid previously known for playing a high schooler in a wheelchair on Degrassi The Next Generation's ascent to global, record-breaking superstardom. Nowadays, love him or hate him, it's hard to overstate Drake's influence on Canada's hip-hop landscape, or separate him from it. He's also a huge reason why Canadian R&B has grown so much in recent years, thanks to his early support of eventual pop superstar The Weeknd, as well as signing acts like Party Next Door, Majid Jordan, Division, and Roy Woods to his OVO sound imprint.
Y'all heard that, right? Y'all heard that, right? Let me run that back for y'all one more time.
Canadian R&B has grown so much in recent years, thanks to his early support of eventual pop superstar The Weeknd, as well as signing acts like Party Next Door, Majid Jordan, Division, and Roy Woods to his OVO sound imprint.
In other words, Division, Majid Jordan, and Roy Woods are cooked. And they're all good artists. All three of them are top tier artists. And every single one of them are cooked because they're signed to OVO Sound. Cooked. Finished. Egotistical is narcissistic weirdo. Valid.
On the rap side, artists like Jazz Cartier, Havaya Mighty, Nav, Trey Mission, Toby, and Tory Lanez have come out of Toronto, or should I say the Six, in its post-Drake rap climate. Many of the hottest...
3 out of 4 of those individuals that he mentioned are on my list. So if you haven't looked at the list already, go. It's in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, go check the list in the Discord, or just go to the YouTube community chat. All the artists are there in my 25 from my playlist. On top of that, with every artist that is there, there is a link to a song from each artist. So go check it out. Trust me.
Best rap producers in recent years have also come from either Toronto or somewhere in southern Ontario, such as Boy Wonder, Murda Beats, 1985, Wonder Girl, and Drake's right-hand man, Noah 40 Shabib, whom cinephiles may recognize from his role in The Virgin Suicides as a child actor. Other Canadian cities have produced hard-hitting rap acts in recent years too,
is on my list.
like Ottawa's Belly, who first gained mainstream attention in Canada in the late aughts and is known nowadays partly for frequently collaborating with The Weeknd. There's also Edmonton's Mist Milano, Vancouver's Tommy Genesis, and Calgary's Cartel Madras, the latter of whom are signed to Sub Pop. One does have to wonder why no true blue Canadian rapper has come close to emulating Drake's success since he first arrived, but that's a topic for a whole other video.
You better address that though. That's the thing. It's not that it's a topic for a video. You better address it and tell the truth.
Success since he first arrived, but that's a topic for a whole other video. Since the Rascals' refusal in 1998 and win for Northern Touch the following year, the Juno for Rap Recording of the Year has gone the most times to Drake and Swollen members, who both won that award on 4 occasions. All still isn't perfect, however, as when Drake hosted the Junos in 2011, the first rapper and black host in the show's history, he was nominated 6 times but got completely shut out. He hasn't returned to the Junos since, and the Rap Recording of the Year category still isn't always shown during the main broadcast. In recent years, Drake hasn't even submitted his music for Juno consideration. In spite of his remarkable worldwide success, Drake hasn't forgotten about Canada's original hip-hop pillars. He'd even stage a concert in Toronto in 2022 featuring performances by Cardinal Offishall, Maestro Fresh West, Choclair, Rascals, Socrates...
But the problem is, just because you have them on the OVO Fest doesn't mean people know about them. So even though you gave them a spotlight, it did nothing for them. You have to work with them, not just give them a placing. Congratulations. You put them on your list. You recognize them. But that just shows that you only recognize them and you're using them to boost your fame. So I see through the bullshit. Good try. But I see through it. So don't sit there and try to say nothing, knowing that what you're doing is for your own selfish gain. Now look at you. I'm not falling for that.
And Chaos, among other Canadian hip-hop and R&B stars of yesteryear. Indigenous rap has also continued to flourish since the 2000s, thanks to acts like Team Res Official, Dreezus, and Joey Styles, and more recently, Dakota Bear and Snotty Nose Res Kids, as well as the Hallucination, formerly A Tribe Called Red, who sometimes fuse their pummeling, bass-heavy beats with features from rap artists like Yassine Bey, formerly Mos Def.
Yep.
There's a thriving rap scene in Quebec too, specifically in Montreal, on both sides of the linguistic divide. Yep. Again, I'd expand on both scenes' more recent developments in separate videos if people want them. As much as Canadian hip-hop has grown by leaps and bounds, too many people think of one guy as being its core centerpiece.
Facts.
Like with anything in life, it takes a village to raise a child. And in this case, that village spent years building upon a cultural movement that began in 1973 at a house party somewhere in the Bronx, and giving it that northern touch.
Yep.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. This is my first ever video for this channel, so this is all kinda new to me, but I have a lot more content planned for it in the future, so let me know what kind of music you'd want to see me cover in my future uploads. In the meantime, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. If I forgot to mention any Canadian rap artists or important moments in Canadian hip-hop history, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll also make a playlist of all the songs I referenced in this video if people want one. And yeah, this has been Sound and Vision, and I will see you next time.
One thing I have to say that you would need to touch on to kind of help your point, lean towards the dance community in Toronto, because they shaped a lot of artists. If we're going to be super honest, speak about the history of the dance culture in Toronto, and then you can kind of fill different different missing puzzle pieces and a lot of the points that you made. Trust me, there's a lot of history in the dance community in Toronto, but a lot of people are never going to look in that area. But I'm giving you free game right now, so I hope you see this video and I hope you take that into consideration, because trust and believe me, there's a lot of talent out there. There is a lot of talent out there, no doubt. But either way, this video was phenomenal, bro. Chef's kiss type shit, bro. I like this one. You know? Make sure y'all go subscribe to Sound, bro. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. I enjoyed every moment. And you know I had to say what I needed to say, so that's just me. But man, that's quality right there, bro.